So what is Web 2.0? For the uninitiated, the slow, so far behind time, such as myself. Our next speaker, Robert Pazornik, will enlighten us all. A little bit about Robert. Robert Pazornik is the CEO and founder of LickityShip.com. LickityShip. Formerly headed 3D Studios, which was acquired by CCI Interactive in 2003, LickityShip was recently named a top 5 startup of 2005 by Fortune magazine. He is bursting with the youth and vibrance only found in a realm of the youth. He is passionate, risk-taking, go-getting, sincere, passionate, charming, suave, cool, and always good with the ladies. But enough about me. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands to welcome Robert.
So what are you doing later? So thank you for that introduction, Tim. Probably way too generous with the adjectives, but I'll take it. When Vinod first invited me to speak about Web 2.0, I was very excited because in many ways Web 2.0 is the internet of our generation. You know, Web 2.0 is sites like Flickr, it's sites like Facebook, Dig, Technorati. It's the sites that we all love and love to waste time on. And it's also something, give me 1 second there. Sites we all love to waste time on, and keeping in that vein, when Vinod first asked me to speak, he said I'd have 20 minutes to explain what Web 2.0 was, but I misheard and thought he said 10 minutes, so I guess I'll save you all 10 minutes of your lives today, which in turn you'll get to waste surfing the net on the aforementioned sites later on. So probably a zero-sum game. But what is Web 2.0? It seems like nowadays anybody with a podium or a PowerPoint is throwing this term around. Referring to sites they like to use, new sites they've heard of, and they tend to generate a lot of buzzwords that are usually more hurtful than helpful in describing what the movement is. Many academics and some in the engineering community have even begun to reject the term Web 2.0, even in its early stages, as a term overused by marketers, and again, more hurtful than it is helpful in defining what they're trying to do. But contrary to that, I think Web 2.0 is actually very useful in helping to classify and define an emerging type of company and the technologies that support it. So with that in mind, let's dive a little bit deeper into Web 2.0 and see if we can all gain a more complete understanding of what it actually is. So the easiest and most general way to understand Web 2.0 is to look at Web 2.0 companies in terms of their Web 1.0 counterparts. So here are a few good examples. We have Ophoto in 1.0, Flickr in 2.0, DoubleClick versus Google AdSense, NewYorkTimes.com versus Dig, or Buy.com versus LickityShip. Now at first cut, there are a few general comparison points that jump out from these examples. So first of all, the Web 2.0 companies are generally much more dynamic with their information sources than are their 1.0 counterparts. They also allow for much more direct user participation in the site and much more local data that is local based not only on geography but the preferences of the user. Now finally, and this is perhaps the most common point that leads to misperceptions, is that most of the Web 2.0 companies, in fact all of them on that list, are relatively new. And this is where people actually wind up getting into trouble. They fall into what I call the Web 2.0 trap. And what they do is they see a new company that displays one or more of what they perceive to be Web 2.0 features, and they instantly label that company Web 2.0. So they'll see any number of companies that have a perpetual beta that use tagging or social networking, and instantly to them that's a Web 2.0 company. Or in an even worse case, it's your company. And you tap on one of these features and you call it Web 2.0. A great example, I was actually talking to a friend at a VC recently, and he came to me and said, hey Robert, I found this great company, this great Web 2.0 company, what do you think of it? It's an online mall, and he paused for a fact, and said, okay, what makes it 2.0? And he said, okay, they're a mall, but any product you look at, the user can tag with his own keywords. Hey, isn't that cool? Isn't that cool? You can tag it with his own keywords, and then other users can search based on those keywords and wind up coming to that product. So you look at a guitar and you label it with hip, music, 6-string, and then anyone that searches for hip music or 6-string sees a picture of that guitar. And my first impression was, well, I think you just fell into the 2.0 trap. You founded a 1.0 e-commerce site with a 2.0 feature, tagging, and you call it a 2.0 company. Well, how can you avoid falling into this 2.0 trap? Well, wouldn't it help if we all had a unified standard definition of exactly what Web 2.0 was? Drum roll, please. Unfortunately, it's not that easy. Web 2.0 is really an incomplete movement. Asking what Web 2.0 is right now is a lot like being in the mid-19th century and asking somebody, hey, what's the second industrial revolution? And the answer really is, well, look, we're not done with it yet. It's very difficult to give you a complete answer. So what I would say here is that the companies we're looking at now are even younger than the companies we were looking at before. What can you actually do to define a movement that hasn't been defined yet? Now that's a pretty useless answer, I'll be honest with you. So I'm going to give you something you can actually use. The second answer as to what Web 2.0 is it really depends on where you stand. So depending on what line of work you're in, Web 2.0 at a first cut is going to mean something different to you. So first of all, if you're in marketing, Web 2.0 is a great term because it helps sell your company as hip, cool, and fresh. So what you tend to do is you're going to package 2.0 in a way that's easy for your customers to swallow. And what that tends to lead to are the buzzwords you always hear. Things like the network as platform or software as a service. And while these terms actually do have meaning, they're very difficult for people to wrap their heads around and even easier to toss out meaninglessly. If you're in finance, you might look at Web 2.0 companies and say, oh, okay, these are companies that make money. Or these are companies that generate profit. Or, at worst, these are companies that won't lose me $400 million. And again, it's an interesting way to look at 2.0, but probably not the most complete way. This leaves us with engineering. And perhaps because I come from an engineering background myself, I feel like this is the best place to look for a concrete answer as to what Web 2.0 is. Let's go back to our example of the second industrial revolution. Let's say you are in the mid-19th century and you really want to find out what is the second industrial revolution, even though it's only just begun. Well, who would you ask? Would you ask a philosopher? Well, maybe, but you'd probably give you a pretty nebulous answer and give you some rudimentary buzzwords. Would you ask a banker? Again, probably not. But would you ask the company foreman? Yes, you probably would. You would want someone with as much hands-on experience with the technology as possible to tell you what the movement actually consisted of. So similarly, today, if you were to ask a software engineer, what is Web 2.0? Well, he would come back to you and say, okay, well, what we're seeing a lot of open APIs. We're seeing web services. We're seeing syndication, AJAX, asynchronous data delivery methods, document object models, XML, SOAP. And if you're an engineer, you might understand all of that. But if you're not an engineer, it's a little more difficult to grasp. So this presentation has really been a build-up to this slide. In a practical way, if you're not an engineer, how can you understand what Web 2.0 is? Well, look at the technology that supports the features. So those technologies I just talked about actually drive the things like the blogs and the wikis and the social networking that we commonly associate with Web 2.0. And if you're looking at a company and you really want to know, is this a 2.0 company, I would suggest you look at 4 principles, which are listed above. The first, is the site giving me dynamic content? That is the website just a silo of information that is spitting back to me, or is it changing depending on who the user is? Secondly, is the information localized? So is the site localizing information by the user's geography and preferences, or again, is it the same for everybody? Third, is there user participation or what some call user-driven content. That basically means, can the user help define what the site is telling other people? Can the user define his own experience on the website? And fourth, is the content leverageable? That is, can it be shared with other people, other companies and individuals who can use that content to their own benefit in their own way? Now, while this list is by no means complete or perfect, I would suggest that if any company can meet 3 out of 4 of these criteria, it can usually, in most cases, be classified a Web 2.0 company. That just about wraps things up. If you would like to learn more about Web 2.0, I would refer you to any of these 4 great articles, which you're free to write down. The first is a piece by Tim O'Reilly that was written in 2005. It's really considered the seminal piece in academia about what Web 2.0 actually is. The second is a website, TechCrunch.com, which follows a lot of new and emerging Web 2.0 companies, if you'd like concrete examples. The third is a site, paulgraham.com, and an article there that again encapsulates very nicely what Web 2.0 is considered to be. And fourthly, a blog from ZDNet. It's actually for all the skeptics out there. That can, it really brings the opposite perspective from people who say, look, Web 2.0 doesn't really exist, it's a marketing term. Checking out these will really give you a complete picture as to what the landscape looks like today. So with that, that ends the presentation. I guess in the interest of time, if you have any questions, please write them down. And after the panel, I'll be happy to discuss with you one-on-one. So thank you very much.